Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to another conversation about your Kundalini Awakening experience. This conversation today will be about how you may have been pulled or what may have occurred for a person to even explore the Kundalini, to even be able to approach it without knowing what it is. And this happens quite often, actually. And so this is the topic of the conversation today. However, I would like to welcome all of you. I'd like to welcome guest 1661 and guest 2285 and Amelia Santara and Rosemary Goliath. And we have a special guest today that we would like to interview, and that is Rosemary. And she will tell a little bit of her story about how she became interested in a spiritual life and in a life based on refinement towards a spiritual life. And so we'll be interviewing her later on. Before I get started, though, I'd like to go ahead and say hello to Santara. Hello, Santara.
Hello, Chrism. Hi, it's good to be here. I've only just arrived and missed what you said before now.
It's okay.
It's good to be here anyway, and I'm delighted to be here on another Wednesday, and welcome to Rosemary, and I look forward to the interview. I'll just begin by first of all, telling you where you can go to if you would like to make a donation, listeners, to the work that Chrism does. There is a website, and this is the address, www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com. And if you would like to support Chrism, and if you can, in the work that he does, well, then that is the address that you can go to. And on the top right-hand corner, you will find a donate button, and it's very simple to donate after that. I'll give you the address again. That's www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com. And also, I'm going to make my final announcement about the Kundalini Awakening seminar that is happening at the end of this week in Dublin. It's possibly too late for some people to plan if this is their first time hearing this information, although I don't believe it's ever too late. If somebody is meant to come, well, then they will come. And I will do everything I possibly can to assist you if you're living in Ireland or in the United Kingdom or indeed in any part of Europe. It's a very easy thing to get to the seminar. Please do ask me, contact me if this interests you, and we can have a discussion about how to make it possible. So I'll give you the information. The seminar begins this coming Friday on the 18th of October, and it starts at 7 p.m. And as a group, we will be together on Friday night, all day Saturday, and we finish on Sunday at 4 p.m. The venue for the seminar is going to be in County Meath, in a beautiful area, the Boyne Valley. The Boyne Valley is a very special place in Ireland. Newgrange is one of the places in the Boyne Valley, and another place is Noth and Duff, which sound really strange, but these are very, very ancient monuments and sites from way, way back, even before the pyramids. And that is where we are going to be having our seminar. And our seminar actually begins on a lunar eclipse, which I think that is very appropriate. So if you want to get in contact with me, I'll give you my phone number first, and that is, if you're ringing outside of Ireland, 00353 86 7676. That's 00353 86 7676. And the email address you can write to is kundalinimatters@gmail.com. That's KUNDALINIMATTERS @gmail.com. So again, next weekend, 18th, 19th and 20th, I'm looking forward to welcoming Chrism to Ireland and to meeting with us at the seminar in County Meath. So that's it, Chrism. Looking forward to your arrival and to the show today and to hearing Rosemary. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Amelia, for that the fine set of announcements. I would like to also let people know before we begin that you can get some of this information from the YouTube, which is chrism.kundalini. And if you go to chrism.kundalini, then you'll come to that channel, and I would welcome anybody to begin to watch some of those videos. Another source that can be had is at www.kundaliniawakeningsystems1.com. And that's the numeral 1.com. So kundaliniawakeningsystems1.com. And then go to the articles, read the safeties, read all the information that you can on that website that Glenn Ola has so expertly put onto the web, and I would like to thank Glenn Ola for doing that. So let's go ahead and get started here. When people...
Chrism?
Yes, hello.
May I just say to the people in the chat room, if that's okay, I don't have a chat room window open today, so I won't be able to assist with that, and just to let you know as well.
Thank you. I have a computer here that has its screen kind of coming off, but I'm still able to read something on it, and so I have the chat room up, and I have 6 people, including Tim Ashworth. Hello, Tim. Who are joining with us today. And this would be tonight where you are. Thank you, Tim, and all of you that are listening from Europe. I know it's 11 o'clock there in the evening, so thank you for making that effort. And I see Tim is typing, so thank you, Tim. All right, here we go. When a person... there are certain areas of spiritual draw. What by that I mean a spiritual experience or a spiritual drive that will draw a person into a deep and sometimes lifelong learning and participation in a spiritual belief system, or even if it's even from a volunteering viewpoint, in some way a person will be driven to help other people. Often, these people will go into areas such as the church, any of the various churches, from the Hindu to the Catholic to the Buddhist. They all have systems of service that they give to the people who partake of that belief system, and they give into the populations assistance, food, clothing, shelter, warmth. I mean, you name it. I mean, they're really out there doing their best to help people survive. Not always, and certainly not everyone. I'm trying to be non-absolutist when I make these statements, because everybody is different, but within the context of a spiritual lifetime pursuit, Kundalini people, before they activate, will often be drawn into areas of service, into areas that will really challenge your tolerance. That will really challenge your tolerance. And hello, Chrism Harris. I see you. Nice to see you joining us, Chrism Harris. It's difficult to tolerate people who are being mean to you, who are being unfair to you, who are being judgmental of you, who are being in some way, hurtful. And what I want to suggest, that if some of you are involved in that right now and you're deeply spiritual people, This is not a bad thing. Hello, Michelle. This is not a bad thing. This is a very positive level of refinement that you're being invited into. Okay? A very positive level of refinement that allows you to open your heart, open your love to include a person who may not understand the deep connection to oneness and to spirituality that many of the Kundalini destined people will have. And I say Kundalini destined people because they're destined to have the spinal sweep. They're destined to live a Kundalini life, which can be very, very difficult if a person isn't able to expand themselves into offering and giving assistance to others through the many vectors that are offered in our societies, such as churches or social groups or people of that nature. Now, I'm the only one here with a chat group, so everybody there on the chat, I see you and I saw your response. So thank you. I just want to let you know that I do see what you have done, Michelle and Chrism. So, as you enter into these volunteer positions sometimes and sometimes paid positions, your Kundalini will begin to drive your interest. It will drive your interest in a way that will choose for you the most appropriate position of gifting, of time and service and love and patience and tolerance and healing that would be appropriate for you at this time in your development. It doesn't have to happen when you're 40 years old or 20 years old or 30 years old, or this doesn't have to happen. You don't have to be an elder person to have this happen. This will happen when it is best for you. This will happen when the Kundalini in you has decided that you have reached a certain level of refinement that is effective for you. Hey, the folks that are on the chat group, can you write to me and let me know that this sound is, we typically will have some sort of a sound quality issue. And if you could write to me and let me know if you're hearing this okay. Hello, Adam. Nice to see you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chrism Harris and Tim and Michelle. Thank you very much. Yeah. Oh, good. Thank you, Michelle. It's a little quieter than usual. Oh, let me make this adjustment. Is this a little bit louder? Yeah. Hello. 1, 2, 3. So, there it goes. Oh, shoot. Okay. I found the setting. Thank you. You're lovely people. Absolutely lovely people. It was better before.
John says, Chrism.
Yeah. Okay. Here we are. Okay. All right. So, as long as people are hearing it, I'm good with it. So we are indeed often drawn into levels of response to society. Even when you're a little kid, you can be drawn into levels of response to society that guide you towards helping other people, that guide you towards being the healer in the group of friends that you may belong to, the healer who is maybe the loner, but people and animals and whoever, they happen to come to this one person. So you don't have to be an adult to have this happen, but it can also happen when you are an adult. And these levels of helpfulness and consideration are definite markers for refinement and love-based service that a person who is pre-Kundalini as a younger person, as they begin to develop, their refinement markers will begin to Pardon me here. I'm trying to find a place to put all this. Okay. Yeah. Their refinement markers will begin to cause them to do certain things, to practice certain levels of love and helpfulness to other people. This happened to me. This happened to me when I was a little kid. I was always looking at the lost kitty, or the friend who was hurting, or if my mother was having a hard time, then of course I would try to go to her and heal her. These types of scenarios are you may think that they're common, but not everyone is drawn into Kundalini refinement parameters. But for those of us who are, it often starts in this way. You have to be challenged, or people around you need to be challenged in order to maybe I'll back this thing off a little bit here. Everybody's saying I'm distorted. In order to begin to refine yourself towards a Kundalini expression. As this expression manifests itself, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Some people want to become doctors. Some people will want to become dentists. Some people, yeah. Hi, Adam. I see you. And some people will want to become firemen or policemen. These are all really, really helpful areas. But also, you may want to become a spiritual leader, or you may want to become a teacher in a grade school, or things of that nature. These are all refinement markers for Kundalini awakening development, pre-awakening refinements that are occurring for a person, so that when they reach that level, when the Kundalini is saying, okay, watching you as you're a child, watching you as you are helpful, watching you as you begin to respond to the stimulus to choose a job or a career that is helpful, that is, someone that can be dependent on. Okay. And, with this in mind, I would like to introduce one of my students. Her name is Rosemary Goliath. And Rosemary flew out to the ashram 3 nights ago, I think. Yeah, 3 nights ago. And we left Santa Rosa. Actually, we left San Francisco, where I picked her up at the airport, and we went into Arizona and into the Grand Canyon and things of that nature, and we've just come back. And she has a very, 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 very interesting life plan that has been given to her through her Kundalini. And I would like to go ahead and bring her on right now. Hello, Rosemary.
Hi there, Chrism.
Hey, first of all, I want to thank you for flying out here, and it's been a real treat having you and sharing with you these beautiful sights of the Grand Canyon and the east side of the Sierras, and these areas that we have been visiting. But with regards to this conversation, I would like to kind of talk with you again, as we did in the car, about what drove you as an early child to, as a younger person, as a like say, if you can remember an 8 or a 9-year-old, what kind of a spiritual life did you have, and was there any indication that you were entering into Kundalini-based refinement protocols?
No, Chrism, not that early for me, although I was getting a good Christian education and family committed to Sunday worship, that kind of practice. But it was in the Catholic faith, and I was taught by Catholic sisters through grade school and high school, and I realized in high school that that's what God wanted me to do with my life. And I left right after high school, left home, And I was there for 25 years. And I can see things happening along the way that truly were guidance from my Kundalini, and also that desire in my heart kept growing. And after 25 years there, I said that something was missing for me. And I wasn't quite sure what it was, and I struggled with leaving because I felt at home there. But I did. I left. I had been in education. I taught high school. And a couple years after I left, I met a dear man in the church pew, and we were married. He has since died. And I continue to work in some ways in my church. And I've always been drawn toward meditation, and I could never really find the tools or the instruction in that. And that was coming along. And I picked up a local little magazine, and there was an interview there with Chrism about service. And it was very touching. And I had heard the word Kundalini one other time, but there was information in that publication with Eileen's number and when this seminar was coming in like a couple weeks, and I really had no idea. But I went, and it was amazing to me how strong it has been for me, and I really coming home and coming here, being here with you, Chrism, has been a great blessing. Strengthened and developed and expanded. Refinement is a wonderful word. And I know that this is, I feel my feet on the journey. I've always been on the journey, but I feel the ground under me with this work and with your direction and this community. And thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, you're very welcome, and you know I say this often, but I say it often, but it's really true. Kundalini is really the one to be thanked. The divine is the one to be thanked. It is the one who is pretty much giving us the directions and the guidance that we need. As I mentioned earlier, from even an early childhood experience, the divine is guiding us and helping us and bringing us into a level of understanding that allows us to make appropriate decisions to help guide us into a more spiritual appreciation. And Rosemary, Michelle is asking, is Kundalini your higher self? And I'm going to suggest it is not within the context that we may understand the higher self to be. It is beyond the higher self. Unless your understanding of the higher self includes the higher self as being divine, like say in the Huna religion, Amakua, if you see your higher self as being that of a divinity, well then yes, the Kundalini is your divinity. To me, divinity goes far beyond the higher self. Even the word self in there, you see what I'm saying? The word higher self, that almost has an ego flavor to it. And it's I know Michelle did not choose the word. That was going on long before we're having this chat. Even pre-Kundalini, I would use the term higher self as well. But Kundalini is your divine self, and the divine self is what will control all aspects of the human person, whether it's the low self, the middle self, or the high self in the Huna tradition, which low, middle, and high, or in the New Age scenario where people like to kind of sidestep the whole divinity issue, and that the divine, the people who are more interested in science can be a little bit put off by the idea of divinity, and so they'll choose words like higher self. Michelle says that her understanding is that the higher self is the divine self, the part that sits with the divine and is part of that. So Kundalini is the divine self. Kundalini is the guiding force for a person who has reached that level of refinement. Allow them to enter into an enlightenment equation that can enter into a system of ascendancy. This must occur for people in order for people to advance. And so, frankly, though, I'll be honest with you, I don't care what you call it. You can call it Frank or Ed or Edwina, as long as you listen to it and you treat it with respect and you act on the you act on the information that it's giving you. That's what really matters to me. And Chrism Harris says she's going to call it Dave. You go, girl. Call it Dave. But seriously, I think that try to avoid the whole idea of labels. Although with Michelle's question, it's a very appropriate question because a lot of the people who are wrapped up into science, they have a hard time with crossing that bridge into divinity. And Michelle says that her experience has been a simultaneous emptying and filling internally. And as we move into a divine protocol upon our bodies, which means that the Kundalini is now an active force upon the body. It is controlling the body. It is doing these things. And the individual personality just gets to sit back and ride. It can scream, rant, complain, but it will initially have to surrender to the will of Kundalini. Now, Rosemary, did you experience any kind of Kundalini phenomena when you were a nun during prayer or meditation or service to others?
No.
What kind of phenomena would you experience? Yeah.
Well, I would say it was like a busy mind. My prayer time and the meditation instruction wasn't anywhere near what I have learned since, but it was more reflection about something. It was intellectual. And I would do my best to do everything I was supposed to be doing because that was why I was there. And sometimes that was a little difficult, but it didn't reach the mindless part, where just basic meditation where you place your mind on your breath so that your mind is not doing all that stuff that it does when it's doing its thing. So
I'm very familiar with the mindless aspect, as you may have observed as we were driving cross country.
Mm-hmm.
That was a joke, but anyway. Yes.
Get it. Thank you.
So, within the disciplines that you were practicing as a nun, could as you look back at that now, can you see opportunities that you may have missed that would have allowed you to come into this sooner, or was that just not going to be the case no matter what?
It's not to say that it couldn't be. I can think of one particular sister that had something very profound about her, but I never knew what it was. She was one of the musicians in the community, and I would say that about her. And even the saints, the communities of religious men and women, those people that have had and written about their experiences are very, very few.
True enough. Well, I would like to personally welcome you among their among, to be seated with them, Rosemary.
Oh my! Thank you, Chrism. That's
and
that's
that
very
goes
touching.
that goes for a lot of us, Chrism and Adam, and I meant Chrism Harris. She spells her name Krism. And then Tim Ashworth, and I would assume Michelle, although I'm not sure that I know Michelle, although she's like a very wonderful, beautiful person. So yeah, this doesn't come to everybody, but when it does come to an individual, they will typically have to act on it, and they will typically be guided through pain, pleasure, interest, disinterest. Their guidance will be assured, but the goal of the guidance may not be understood by the individual. You have to remember that for the most part, we're working from a mindset of ego, fear of loss and want of gain, my way or the highway, I'm the best competitor of them all, all the different ego expressions. And so, this may not be called to people who are continuing to work from the refinement level of ego control and expression. However, even the Kundalini person will need in their early life to get a good handle on their ego in order to understand and survive in this world. Ego serves a very, very positive purpose, and I want people to know that. I don't want people to think that even though I'm saying, okay, it's time to stop letting the ego control you, even though I'm saying that, it doesn't diminish the very important work that the ego has done for the person earlier in life. It's just like our baby teeth. When we get our baby teeth, it's painful, and yet they come in, and finally, we're able to chew food, and then they go away. The baby teeth fall out. Well, with Kundalini, I'm going to suggest that your baby teeth, your baby ego teeth, have fallen out, or at least many of them have, shall we say. They don't all fall out at the same time. But from a Kundalini perspective, the Kundalini person can see that the ego teeth are leaving them one at a time or two at a time, and they're being left with a divine counselor, a divine guidance that has an agenda for them that isn't always what they would have expected in their life. Okay? These levels of grace are very, very powerful, and these are the levels of grace that will throw your karma at you. These are the levels of guidance from the Kundalini, from your divine self, that will say, okay. Let's say Santara has this karmic responsibility that she has to deal with in this life in order for her to become of greater service within her divine application of Kundalini upon the people around her. And so, well, let's give her this karma right now and see how she does. So the karma is given, and then either the person is able to respond at that time or maybe later on. You have to understand that Kundalini does not have time constraints the same way that we do. It understands our understanding of time, but it doesn't necessarily buy into it because it doesn't have that restraint. Okay, we see time as a linear thing. We see, past, present, future. And with Kundalini, past, present, future don't really apply. It's just a river of time that allows the five sense person to proceed upon a life path that makes sense to them. They can say, okay, past, present, future, and live their life based upon the ideas of past, present, future. Well, when I was 4, I burned myself in the campfire, and so now I know not to stick my finger in the campfire, and I know in the future I won't do that. Okay. So I'm reading Michelle writes. She says, for me, it has been about developing a relationship with the egoic parts of myself that is compassionate, embracing, and understanding. So, yes, I don't buy into it so much now. Well, see, there you go. There you go. At first, you have a very good relationship with the ego. And the ego is not a bad, evil thing, although it can become that way. But it isn't typically, without me slipping into absolutism, isn't typically that way. Although there are those aspects of it. And then yes, you can see the ego as your inner child. And the inner child has been in charge of the body for most of the time now. And with the Kundalini will come along and say, little ego child, here, I want you to sit over here. No, I want you to be quiet, and I want you to learn. This is how I am looking at helping the ego to be transformed. You don't get to obliterate an aspect of yourself. What you are allowed to do is you're allowed to change and transform how you choose what you're going to be giving your attention to. Are you going to give your attention to the ego, or are you going to give your attention to the Kundalini and that guidance that's coming for you? And so as your process of refinement has continued throughout your life, and as the Kundalini is beginning to come up in you, any of you, I'm going to suggest that you begin to really look at your spirituality as the new reality for you. The new reality, not the only reality, but the new one. And the new reality is going to suggest that there are more than one reality. There are realities that are just scientific. There are realities that are just autistic. There are realities that are just, focused on material gain. There are realities that are just focused on fighting a certain kind of war. We look at General Patton, who fought for the United States during World War II. Here was a gentleman that viewed some of his past lives as a warrior, as a soldier. Matter of fact, there's a documented piece of evidence where he's overlooking a plane, and he began to remember Roman soldiers fighting, an adversary, and what they did and how they did it, and all of this. And this is documented. And so, yes, this is at these levels of attention that are given to the person will not necessarily dovetail, or that's an American expression, that will not necessarily combine perfectly with what the person has been doing, but it will combine perfectly with what you are to be doing. The Kundalini will not let the ego stay in control. That's the bottom line. It won't let it stay in control, and it can bring pain to the body if it is, if you're going to be in resistance to what the Kundalini wants to have happen. So, with regard to giving yourself into a spiritual quest for completion, if you're giving into yourself into what the Kundalini has given to you as a spiritual quest for completion, then I'm going to ask you to sit the ego down and tell it to be quiet and to learn. What Rosemary did is Rosemary responded early on. When she was 16, she answered that call to serve God. Now, I don't know that she knew who God was. I'm sure she knew who she thought God was, what her ego had been trained to believe God was. I'm sure at the time that she was 16, all the way through the 24 years of service and study that she put into her ministry, she did very well with that, but it had to stop. And she also answered that call. Think about it. Let me bring Rosemary back on here. Rosemary, you're coming back on. Santara, if you could do that, because thank you. Rosemary.
Yes.
When after the 22nd year, the 21st year of being the nun, when did you start feeling the urge or the desire that you needed to move on from this position?
Well, it was about those 2 or 3 years, and what I would do is I would think that it really was about something else, some particular aspect of the community or my work or whatever seemed to be stirring up. And then I would deal with that. And I say, good, because I really liked being in that role of church service and as a symbol for God, and the sisters that I was part of were a habit even in the later years. And I was in community leadership as well, so I thought, and it was a time when communities were dwindling, and I said, well, that's okay, I'll be here and I'll turn out the light and be the last one to be buried. And that just what was intended. But it was a stirring and an unsettling and reaching out for help. And then in a number of times in my life, I would say to God, and it was the May of the year that I left, I said, God, I give up. I give up. Just show me what you want me to do here. And I really, as you're saying about the ego, just took that out of my ego realm of working and let it be. And then over the next 8 or 9 months, then it was just really clear.
Well, can you tell me the moment of truth and what you were doing when that moment of truth occurred?
Well, if I think I was sharing with you about putting shelf paper into the new building. Were you referring to that?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was a teacher, but I lived with a community of sisters who were nurses, and that was part of the hospital building. And so I was free in the summer because I was finished my teaching, and I was working in that the new home and putting shelf paper in. I remember being down on the floor fitting shelf paper in before we put stuff into and it just occurred to me that I just didn't want to be there anymore.
Just and out of the blue, it's just like wow, it's like
yes,
24 years is enough.
Well, and again, I'm not so sure that I don't know, that it was an ability to accept and to see the possibilities of a spiritual life even beyond that structure. And that I had come to know people who had a much stronger spiritual life than I had, and through a 12-step program. And I said, I didn't need this particular structure for that.
So what you're suggesting is that after 24 years, something within you finally said, okay, it's time to go.
Yeah. And the possibilities.
So how did this turn into a Kundalini quest?
Well, I think it was guidance. I'd probably still be there. I'd be back in Pittsburgh, where the community is.
Sure.
But it was, as I said, I met a delightful man sitting in the church pew, and what the gift of that marriage and that relationship was for me was a gift all the way, and still continues to be. Was
it also a spiritual gift? Did your husband?
Yes.
At the time,
yes.
Did he? Okay, all right, very good. Rosemary, I would like to thank you. Did you want to finish something? Finish saying that?
No, just as you say, it touched my heart again of who he really was. Yes, that was a great gift, and his spiritual life as well, to share that journey.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful, and so are you. And I'm going to put you on hold here because a person's coming up that has a question. So just stand by a moment, okay, Rosemary? See if I can do this.
Hello?
Hi, George. How are you?
Oh, enjoying life. What about you?
I as well. Thank you. Thank you for calling in. How may I help you?
Well, a lot. You can help me a lot because I'm looking about in the internet yourself in the Kundalini about safe, to be safe. I'm trying to get in communication with Kundalini, but I sometimes I've been feeling like I cannot sleep. Some strange things, no. So I would like to know.
Tell me what some of the other strange things are.
Oh, like looking like lights and like lights, something like that. Yeah. So I want to know, how to get in control, because I feel losing the control, maybe losing the control, and I would like to know how to be safe. How wake up the Kundalini and be safe.
Okay. All right. Well, there's two different things here. I think that the very fact that you've started to even look at the Kundalini as a possible the cause of your symptoms has already embarked you on a Kundalini journey, okay? And I'm going to suggest the safety protocols for you. And so, George, if you go to Kundalini Awakening Systems1.com and you look at the left-hand margin and go to the safeties.
Okay, Kundalini Awakening
Systems, the number 1.com, numeral 1.com. So it's
okay.
I'm looking back on that and saying, well, how did I get that name? Anyway, so all the other names were taken. So go there, George, and look at the safety protocols on the left-hand margin.
In the left hand. Okay, I'm going to go to Kundalini Awakening Systems number 1.com, and then I'm going to put safety protocols.
No, you just they're right there. It's a button that you push.
Okay.
Just a button. You don't have to search for it.
Well, I do appreciate your help, and I do appreciate meeting you.
Just a second. So there's some things that you can do right now. Okay, you can stop drinking. You can stop drinking caffeine if you're drinking caffeine. Are you?
Yeah. Well, I eat the energy drinks.
Yeah, you really want to put those down.
Okay.
Put those down. That's going to cause you to fear.
Okay.
That's going to cause you to fear. Oh, and I'd like to say, just a second here, George. This is to Rosemary. This is from Bashti is telling everybody hello. He's a little late. And then Tim Ashworth is saying, thanks for your story, Rosemary. And Chrism Harris is also saying, thank you, Rosemary. So I will add my voice to the chorus. Thank you, dear Rosemary. And she is live. She is listening. She's in another room of the house right now so that, we don't get an echo in here. Now, George, getting back to you, though,
yes.
do stop the energy drinks. Do not drink anything with caffeine or artificial sugars. Those energy drinks, and I know why you drink them. I can totally understand why anybody would, because it gives you energy.
Yeah, and wake up.
Right. But I suggest that you don't want that kind of energy and the kind of damage that it's doing to your pancreas. and the kind of damage that it's going to do to you as you begin to investigate some of the levels of expansion that the Kundalini can bring. I don't think it's accidental, George, that you are experiencing this. Okay. We have a gentleman named Bruno Amadori, and ¿entiendes, George? ¿Entiendes español?
Yes.
Well, there's a website called because I don't get Spanish too well. It's called. Are you on Facebook?
No, I'm not.
Okay, it's called Despertando la Kundalini. Okay. It's let me read it to you here. I have this really slow computer, so yeah, here it is. Despertando la Kundalini. Despertando la Kundalini.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Es un mundo donde la Kundalini está cada vez más activa. Es de vital importancia estar informado. Este grupo ha sido creado con el fin de compartir los artículos de Kundalini Awakening Systems 1.com creados por Chrism, traducidos al español. And I would like to thank Bruno Amadori and his I'm looking for her here, and his accomplice. They translate the page.
Okay.
And this is on Facebook though, and so I just kind of you may want to join Facebook and maybe just join it for that one reason.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
And I will also invite you to come to Kundalini Awakening ! On Facebook, and that's an English group. So this can give you an opportunity to work with other people and to see what other people are doing, and within this understanding, you kind of begin to put together what is occurring for you and what you need to do. And you did mention that you wanted to have it activated. And if you can make it to Ireland by Friday and do it this weekend, then I'm more than happy to bring you into that. And if that's something that you would like to do, then you can contact Amelia Santara and at KundaliniMatters@gmail.com. And I would like. Okay, so here's the thing: is that yes, you're going to start seeing lights. You may hear voices. I'll recommend that you don't say anything about it, okay? Don't tell people about this. That's just inviting a problem, right? So, right, so practice those safeties. The safeties are a standalone Kundalini activation sequence. If your Kundalini is already activated, then it's a balancing point, a balancing sequence. And it's very important because Kundalini is like walking on the edge of a razor. Good, strong level of balance to be able to walk on the edge of a razor. Wouldn't you say, George?
Yeah, it is that way.
So as you take out the caffeine and those sugars, what's going to happen is you're going to lose levels of fear.
Okay.
Fear is what can develop because nobody's prepared to have Kundalini really. It's certainly not in the West. I don't know about the folks in the Himalayas, but in the West, very few of us are prepared to have Kundalini. I thought, when I finally found out what it was for me, I was kind of, oh, this is Kundalini, the one thing I've been trying to avoid. Even with all of my education and experience with this, it still would surprise me. It still would surprise me.
It is. You know, a lot of people that they begin to feel these things. Maybe they go to the mistake to go to the psychiatry, and they give drugs to them. That mistake totally, because I psychology, and my wife too. My wife is a psychologist. So we see that a lot of the things that you feel in, a lot of people feels, and they go to see by mistake a psychiatry, and they give drugs to them, and they ruin them, you know.
Yeah, so, no, I agree, and I would like to give my compliments to both you and your wife for being in a healing profession, in a helpful and considerate, kind profession, and I hope that is working well for both of you.
Yes, it does, and with this we can learn a lot, because a lot of people that we see, they have the symptoms, that kind of symptoms, you know. So we can we can do a lot with this, you know. So knowing
you can do a lot with it, but you can't do a lot with drugs in the Kundalini. SSRI, selected serotonin reuptake inhibitors, are not a real positive chemical engagement with the Kundalini.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Well, George, I just want to say thank you for calling in, and I do look forward to seeing you, if you wish, on Facebook, or if you wish to contact me privately. My email is K and then F K as in Kundalini, F as in Frank, I as in iPad, R as in Raymond, E as in Equator, FOR, so that's for all. So K Fire for all at yahoo.com.
Okay. K Fire for all. And
at yahoo.com. And that's one word, all one word, okay? It's not K space Fire space. That's just all one word.
Okay, so K Fire for all.com.
At yahoo.com.
Oh, Yahoo. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I look forward to communicating more with you, George.
Yeah, my pleasure, and I will need communication in this situation.
Well, you have it.
Thank you very much, and God bless you for being there doing this, because nobody does it. I've been looking for the Kundalini, and nobody has the information you have.
I know, and I've looked myself as well. I found that out.
Yeah.
I feel kind of strange about all that, but I'm just not going to stop. I'm going to keep going with it. And
Thank you.
And blessings to you, my friend. Thank you for calling.
Thank you very much again. Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
I'm just going to put you on hold so that you continue to listen, okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay. Looks like we have a few callers here, so I'll just let Centaura handle this. So as we are searching and as we are responding to the guidance that the Kundalini is giving us, we don't know what that guidance is. We don't know what to call it. Our ego doesn't know how to handle it. It's like, how come I just feel like I need to, in Rosemary's case, why do I feel like I all of a sudden need to become a nun or a priest or a policeman or a scientist or whatever? How is it that I'm all of a sudden beginning to want to do this? And if it's a Kundalini Awakening equation, it won't matter whether you have the answer or not. You'll have to do it. You'll have to participate in the way that the Kundalini guidance wants you to participate. Rosemary had no real choice. She had to become a nun. Think about it. You're 16 years old, and all of a sudden, oh, boom, I feel like I need to join this spiritual community. Okay, out of the blue. Kundalini can reach right into you, see what you have, see what you need, and provide both. Okay, if you don't have it, it'll get it for you. If you need it, then it'll get it for you. And need it means this person needs to balance that karma. This person needs to receive more love in their life, and so certain manipulations will be given that allow a person to find those objectives within the life path that they're walking. Santara, how are things going with our callers?
Hi, Chrism. I was just about to tell you that there's a person waiting to speak with you with a question from the UK. Putting you through now.
Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, hello. Welcome.
Hi, this is Anand Mahapatra from the UK.
Say that again?
Mahapatra. You can spell it
Mahapatra.
Oh, fantastic.
And what does that mean in Sanskrit? I know what it means, but what do the other people don't know? What does that mean?
Big Father or something?
Big Father. That's right, Mahapatra. Hi, I recognize you.
Yeah.
How are you? It's nice to talk to you.
I'm not doing so well at the moment. I haven't slept in a couple of days, so.
Well, you actually haven't been following my advice either. So
I've been trying to, but I've been doing the safeties, but not very well.
Okay. All right. So the scenarios, everybody. This is Mr. Mahapatra, and he's 18, and he's living in the UK. And he's been kind of vacillating on whether he wants to go to the seminar or not. And what's your question, my friend? How may I help you?
I have about 20 questions, but I'll start off with them in order of priority. I'll give some background to the most recent history. I haven't slept for... I've slept for about 8 hours in the last 3 days.
Okay, is that the first question?
That's the first question. Why am I sleeping for 8 hours? What does sleeping have to do with anything?
Oh, sleeping has a lot to do with everything. Sleeping has a lot to do with dream guidance, with removing the toxic residues.
Really, I've not heard of toxic residues before. Could you explain what they are?
Can you put your headphones back on?
Okay, sorry, yeah, I didn't think of that. Wait, let me put the volume down again, because it hurts.
Sure. Okay.
50, I think. Of course, if I don't think, I didn't think of that. Sorry.
Okay,
so you were saying?
The toxic residues can come from responses that we've had to difficult choices we've had to make, grudges, unforgiveness, lack of willingness.
Okay.
Yeah. It can also, in your case, because...
That fits, yeah.
In your case, I think that you're also in a tremendous level of resistance.
Oh, man, definitely.
Yeah. And so as this resistance manifests, it can really, really mess up your life. Everybody, you're hearing a telephone. I'm not going to answer it. It'll stop ringing in a few seconds. It's a message phone. When you go into resistance, Mahapatra, you are basically courting a very painful experience. But not to the point that you can't find help. I mean, let's see what happened to you. I mean, you go into resistance, and it's now, and you're suffering, and yet at the same time, you're looking for help, you're looking for assistance, you're looking for information. Right?
That one thing you said about toxic residue, would you mind if we go back to it for a second? Because I think it fits in my kind of system. Because when I sleep, I don't sleep very well. I never have. Some days I'll sleep for 12 hours a day. Some days I won't sleep at all. So there's some sort of cycle there, I think.
Well, I think that you're in the middle of a transformation that you're resisting.
Exactly.
And as your transformation continues, the Kundalini is trying to get your attention.
I've heard it.
So let's take out the sleep. Let's see what he does with that. Okay. So that's how it's going to affect your sleep. Now, even if you're not resisting, Kundalini can have very definitive interaction with whether or not you sleep, whether or not you need to sleep. Let me give you an example. Yesterday at this time, at almost precisely this time, 4:05 p.m. on the West Coast, I was in the Grand Canyon. I was in the Grand Canyon, Arizona.
Awesome, dude. Yeah.
That's about. It's a long, very long ways away. If you look at Google Earth, you'll see how far it is. I live in Northern California, Santa Rosa.
And so Grand Canyon?
It's well over 1,000 miles round trip.
Okay, I see what you mean.
And yesterday this time I was in the Grand Canyon, and I drove with Rosemary all the way back.
Yeah.
All the way back.
Rosemary?
It took about 13, 14 hours. Okay. I took two breaks. One break was completely controlled by the Kundalini. Okay. I pulled over. I said, Rosemary, I'm going to have to shut my eyes for a few minutes here. And so we pulled over. I shut my eyes for 8 minutes.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
I woke up and I was so refreshed and ready to go.
Buzzing and
Yeah. So, you're welcome, Michelle. You're welcome. She's saying, thanks, Chrism, great show. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. So your Kundalini will be in charge of how you sleep and even if you sleep. And the thing is I really want you to begin to surrender to the Kundalini. And I would suggest that you go to this seminar.
Problem is I haven't been sleeping very well at all, and I'm having mania and things. So
you have mania?
Yeah.
Mania? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How is that manifesting, if you don't mind saying?
I put on really loud music and dance to it really viciously, like rap along and dance and whatever.
I wouldn't call that mania. I would call that fun.
My parents say it's mania.
Well, yeah, they're going to say it because they're not experiencing what you're having.
True.
So I will suggest that you do that. Maybe do it away from your folks so they don't get pressured.
That's difficult. It's a small house, so.
Yeah. Well, I don't see that as a problem. I don't see that's actually a positive response to your Kundalini. What's your first name again? I'm sorry.
Anand.
Okay. So Anand, I think that's a very positive response, and I'll suggest that you continue to do that.
So you're saying it's okay to rap to like Kanye West and Jay-Z, and that's an okay thing to do.
There's certainly not my choices in musicians, but
we have different musical tastes, obviously. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so if they're saying if you can find rap lyrics that are of a more positive nature, I would think that would be better. They're fine. I don't listen. Fine. Yeah. If it's positive, it's good then, and I would suggest that you continue to do that. The other thing, and I will suggest that you dance till you drop.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I pant at the end. I'm like, blah. So.
No, I mean go beyond panting. I mean till you drop, until you have to rest.
Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah. And this will form a grounding. This will form a grounding protocol for you.
What exactly is a grounding protocol?
A grounding protocol is what I just described to you. It's doing an activity that forces your body into hard levels of physical expression.
So like squash or running?
Squash
or tennis
running,
or
cycling. Yeah. Not so much tennis. No. Tennis is a real stop and go. So is squash. I'm talking about hard work. I'm not talking about we hit a ball over a net or against a wall and then we rest. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking about hard work, and you do that hard work. You do the hard work. Go in the UK. I'm pretty sure they have them. Go to a fitness studio that does that uses the rubber band in the aerobics. Yeah, there's an aerobics technique that uses a very thick rubber band, and it really, really makes you work hard.
This morning I did sit-ups for 26 of them with my brother, and I was like, and would sit-ups count?
Do 260, and that would count.
260. Okay, I'll try to do that within the next week. I won't manage it, but it's a worthy game. But
yeah, and do about 100 push-ups. So I have my female students do these things.
I'm weird.
Hang on. I'm going to bring Santara on. She's going to describe some of the exercises I have her do. Santara, you there?
Yes, I'm here, Chrism. I have such a bad student when it comes to
Tell Anand and the listeners about some of the exercises I may have you do.
Okay, well, Chrism really pushes me on these things to beyond what I am capable of doing, but I do them. So I do sit-ups, and
how many?
he could give me to do 100 sit-ups.
100 sit-ups? I cannot do that.
Yeah, I can't either.
Oh, God. Yeah, I know what you mean.
But that's not the point. I have to. Yeah, and also I am unable myself to do the press-ups, but I do I do a revised. What's the word? An adapted press-up.
The easy version.
Yeah, I can do the easy version. I can't do proper version.
Well, if you can do it, you probably need to not do it. And if you can do the hard one, you see, that's the one that you need to do. And
I can do 3 of them. But I can do 3.
How many would you do?
3.
So I would have him do 12.
12. Okay.
Easily.
Yeah, I can probably do about 4 or 5.
I can't do more than 20 sit-ups. 30 at the very max. 30
for me as well. I can do a couple of press-ups, but after a while my things just break. So,
what else do I have you do?
I have to keep going. Sorry, Chrism?
Tell some of the other exercises.
You had me doing a very intense one at one stage, but I haven't been doing that for a while, and it's blotted from my memory. You have me doing walking. You have me doing star jumps.
Star jumps. I do star jumps. I do star jumps when I rap. Yeah.
Yes. So I can't remember how many.
I probably do.
Let me take this into the vector that I've been actually trying to put it into. I will have a student do some fairly strong athletic exercises. I will have them go into the gardening, and I will have them do some strong gardening. I will have them jump into a cold river and stay underwater for a certain amount of seconds.
You have had me do that.
Yes.
Yes, and absolutely.
I have cold baths. The river's different, obviously.
Yeah. So
I read somewhere that you said, yeah.
So Anand, I think it's very important for you to stop resisting.
Yeah, okay.
If you can stop resisting and stop drinking caffeine or artificial sugars.
I don't have coffee because I go hyper with coffee, but yeah.
Do you do tea? Do you do black tea?
My mum's very keen on me drinking tea, but I don't like tea, so...
Don't drink the black tea. Yeah, don't drink the black tea. So so that's very good. That's very good. So you're not having a lot of caffeine interaction. So the scenario is for you to ground, I'm suggesting you do some very, very strong physical exercises.
Well, I did gardening at 4 to 5. Then I went on a walk with my dog from 5 to 6. Then I danced for an hour. So is that enough?
Well, I like that. I like the walking the dog, but I'd like you to dance for 3 hours.
Okay, I'll do that immediately.
As soon as we hang up.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, my Kanye West is coming on. Yeah.
But the scenario is what you're doing when you're dancing that hard is that you're putting the body into a level of stress that allows the Kundalini to filtrate itself into you. Okay, but it also allows you to ground yourself within that exercise.
So I see. So the first thing is Kundalini is going through me, and the second thing is I am going through the Kundalini. Would that make sense?
I would just say that the Kundalini is going through you, and you are experiencing Kundalini by virtue of that.
What about my what do I do?
You stop resisting.
Okay, yeah.
You let it come. And here's the thing, because your parents know about this now, right?
They pretend to know, but they don't believe in it.
Right,
They're Hindus,
right. So,
yeah.
Right, I understand. So,
my dad does. My mom doesn't.
Okay, well that's good. I'm glad at least half of them do. The scenario, though, is that as you surrender into this, more phenomena is going to occur.
Yeah.
And that more phenomena is what I'm going to give the reason why I'll suggest.
I have a very, very important question, actually, which I'm sorry to kind of butt in, but I didn't sleep over the last week. My best friend stopped sleeping, and one of the friends new friends I have has stopped sleeping, and she's sick as well, and I'm really worried I might be doing something.
No, I don't necessarily see that, because you have this energy, that you have a strong expression of it. That alone may be enough to convince them on a psychological programming level to emulate your behavior, but I don't think it's the Kundalini reaching out to them.
Okay, that's actually quite a big relief. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah. But do your best to keep yourself engaged, keep yourself working hard, and then follow the safeties completely. Don't just do them halfway.
Okay.
And don't just do them once. Do them every day. Every day for you.
Yeah. Well, every day or twice a day or 3 times a day or?
Well,
more than better.
Some people I have do twice a day. Some people 3 times a day. Rosemary was doing her safeties 3 times a day and doing them well.
I'll try my best.
Well, don't do the 5 Tibetans 3 times a day for you, though. Do everything else.
What are the 5 Tibetans and what are the safeties?
5 Tibetans are a form of Tibetan vertical yoga.
Okay.
Kundalini is a vertical source, and so it likes the vertical yoga. And the safeties, if you read the safeties, well, they're fairly self-explanatory.
Okay, I've read them, but I don't fully understand the kind of.
What question do you have about them?
Well, I'll just search it up on my internet. Safeties Kundalini Awakening Systems 1. Sorry, 1 second. So tongue up, eyes down, fingers. I do this all day long pretty much.
Tongue up, eyes up.
Oh, sorry. I thought
Not
up and then
down.
thought down. Sorry, that's the worst thing I could do. Fingers in the kind of thing that you showed me on the video. On the YouTube video?
I've done over 200 of them. Which one are you referring to?
The one on the page, on the safeties page. You put your hands together like this. I got that one. Water, I drink about 5 liters a day.
5 liters?
Seriously, a lot. I have like diabetes or something, I think. Food choices is okay. Forgiveness, recapitulation, inner joy, trust, honesty. Okay, yeah, I think I get the rest of them.
Okay, so I want you to go ahead and read that and really begin to practice them seriously, because I'll tell you what, Anand, this isn't going to get better if you continue to resist.
Okay, yeah.
I want you. Well, I won't. I don't want to poke fear at you, but I don't want you. I don't want you to have a lot of fear over this. I want you to be grateful for having this.
Yeah. It's never good to be fearful.
Yeah, I could hear the sincerity in your voice there. It's overwhelming. So okay. Do you have any other questions I can help you with?
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay, that's fine. All right, very good then. Very good.
Okay.
But thank you for calling. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Right.
Okay, and if anybody else has a question that they would like to ask, I'm going to try to I'm going to give you the number here. It's area code 347, and that's a United States area code 347, and then 934-0026. 347-934-0026. So if anybody else has a question that they'd like to ask, please do. Welcome back, Michelle. I see that you did not have that meeting. So great. And I see that Julie's here. Welcome, Julie. Nice to see you. Vashti, nice to see you again. Yeah. And Michelle is asking, I wonder if there's something in not trying so hard. This is a sincere question. Michelle, can you tell me, are you talking about yourself in this?
While she's typing, Chrism.
Yeah.
While Michelle is typing, it's Diana Martinez is the lady who is helping Bruno with
Diane Martinez,
Diana.
thank you.
Yeah.
Diana, I so apologize for not remembering. I was frantically searching for your name, so I apologize. But I'm thankful to both you and Bruno for doing the Despertando la Kundalini. It's an amazing level of help for people who speak Spanish, and so thank you both of you for doing that. So yeah, if anybody else has a question they'd like to ask, 347-934-0026. I'm going to come back a little bit here to following the guidance that the Kundalini is giving you. And, this is amazingly important. And yes, Santara, you have something else to say?
Oh, I was just going to say about the safeties. I mean, I was just reminded there as Anand was listing them out. And he was listing them, and he said the water and made a comment. And then when he got down to the forgiveness trust, and he listed them off so quickly, yeah. And I suppose I'd just like to say that those particular ones, they're not the physical safeties, the emotional safeties, like the forgiveness and the trust, are actually huge. There's something that needs to be really looked at and considered and brought into every day. I mean, it's easy to say, I forgive, and we do, but to actually bring our conscious awareness to that in all scenarios, from the smallest little thing to the major big forgivenesses that we have to do. It needs to really, in a Kundalini context, expand into every aspect of our lives, forgiveness. And the same with trust. It's easy to say, I trust it, yeah. But to actually seriously trust it and to consciously trust what's happening, that takes more than maybe we realize to begin with when we read down through the list. So I just wanted to add that.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. And it's absolutely true. And I believe there's a caller waiting for you. Yeah, okay. Well, it's true. You don't want to. You want to take your time with reading these safeties and looking at these safeties. You don't just want to breeze through them. And I'm not suggesting he is, but I think he was feeling more of the pressure of being on the air and wanting to get through the conversation a little faster. But I will suggest for everybody who's listening to take their time with the safeties and to take every safety extremely seriously. It's just like, I put water in the safeties. The Kundalini actually put water in the safeties. Drink lots of water. I didn't even put down, back when I wrote the safeties, when they were written, there's a certain kind of water that is helpful for people, certainly of a grounding nature. And I have not mentioned this before. I wrote about it about 3 years ago. Yeah.
Hi, it's Michelle from the chat room, Chrism, and she'd like to expand on her question with you, please.
Okay. Michelle, just a moment. Just let me finish this thought, okay?
Sure.
Hello. Sure. Oh, you got a beautiful voice. Oh, my gosh. There's a certain type of water that I stopped writing about because I knew that it was difficult for people to put together. But if you can find rivers, this is how it was given to me to write into the safeties that I didn't do because I knew that people would have a hard time putting it together, especially if they don't live in an environment that supports it. You take spring water and you pour it over clean river stones. and you let the energy of the stones, or the grounding nature of the stones themselves, you let those energies mix, the energy of the water and the energy of the stone, and then you collect that in a bottle. Well, okay, that's great if you happen to have access to river stones, but if you don't, well, then you're up a creek. I would suggest that you drink water. Drink the water. Don't drink tap water if your community is putting fluoride or other toxic chemicals in it. Buy the water if you can afford to. Go to those machines that dispense, RO water or carbon filtered water with the different cleaning mechanisms that they have. Drink the water. Don't just because everybody drinks water, it's not an easy thing. It's not just something that you breeze by, because your kidneys are going to be starving for it. Your adrenal glands are going to be starving for it. It's hugely important. Julie, use tap water using a carbon filter. I like filters for that. I like anything that will also take away some of the heavy metals that they're putting in. So, whatever you can get as far as that goes. And I would like to come back to Michelle. Uh-oh. Are you there?
Hello. Hello.
Let me hear that beautiful voice. Oh my gosh, you should be on the radio.
I have been, actually. in different iterations of it. I have been.
I'm not surprised. How are you today, Michelle?
I'm very good, actually. Yeah. I actually just wanted to call in and just expand on the question that I had, which was, it sounds a bit cheeky, but it was a sincere question, and it's been my personal experience.
What does cheeky mean?
Well, it just sounds like I'm being facetious. If you read it out of context, you might think I'm being facetious, but I'm not.
No. Can you go ahead and rephrase your question, perhaps?
Well, I guess from my personal experience and talking to other people, I've always considered myself a spiritual person, and talking to other people, often what I get in the conversation is, I do my yoga and I do this and I do that, and somehow it's still not working for me. My Kundalini is still not awakened. I'm not feeling enlightened, and it's kind of like it's a funny thing. Like you said, it's a very fine-edged sword that you walk on. And there is a gentleness and a peace in that. And it's not necessarily a pushing or a having to strive for something. Like you said earlier, it's something that I think comes to you when you're ready. And even in all, I think we're constantly spiritually awakening. It's just our timeline and the divine timeline could be very different. And so I think people who are sort of pushing all the time, how do I get this? How do I do this? It's a little bit maybe missing the point of it, and maybe not. I'm not criticizing anybody's path. I'm just saying that sometimes the not doing is, might be actually part of the answer. They're not pushing and they're not resisting and they're not, and just letting things happen.
Definitely not resisting. But sometimes they're guided to do things that they don't understand that they need to do, or they feel they need to do something and they're doing it, but they don't know why they're doing it. And now, if taking the example that you've given, if a person is pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to get the Kundalini, well, there is a path of Kundalini awakening that comes to those who ask. And that pushing is a form of asking. And what will occur typically for those folks is that they will get activated. It won't be the awakening. It will be the activation that can lead into an awakening. But one of the problems that I think people are running into is they're trying to use current practices that espouse Kundalini, but don't really give the Kundalini. Okay, so let me give you an example of that. Kundalini Yoga is a great example of that. They say the word Kundalini, they espouse the Kundalini, and it's a wonderful system, don't get me wrong. I like Kundalini Yoga. I think it's great. But it's not going to give you the Kundalini because it has the name in the title.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Okay. Yeah.
So people will try to get that, and I understand why, because, it's hard to find information on the Kundalini. As George mentioned earlier, it's very difficult to find information on the Kundalini, and so a person looking through the phone book or through the internet might go, oh, okay, Kundalini Yoga. You must be able to get it from that, and you can. You can get it from Kundalini Yoga sometimes, but it's not a guarantee at all. With pushing, I think pushing is okay to a certain degree. Within the safety protocols, I push people to forgive. I push people to be tolerant. I push people to give up certain dietary measures. I push people into certain behaviors that the Kundalini is very, very attracted to, such as forgiveness, tolerance, truthfulness, honesty, diligence, discipline, practice. These things the Kundalini is very happy for. But it also will give you that level of serenity that you're talking about, Michelle. It will give you that level of serenity, that level of peace. It will give you that level of inner stillness. Now, this is from a person who has the Kundalini and is working with the Kundalini, and this person is not resisting, and so they're having that serenity. They're having that peacefulness. But those who are resisting are not going to have that peace typically. They're not going to have what it is that you're talking about. A lot of the folks that are going to call up to me here are going to have problems with the Kundalini rather than having a great time with it. But you bring up an excellent point, Michelle, and I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna say it right now. By far, the majority of phenomena and experience that I've experienced from Kundalini has been positive and loving and joyful and blissful and ecstatic and beautiful and absorptive and with serenity and with love and with all of this is the whole reason we're even doing this show.
Yeah, I mean, my personal journey towards, I have never called it a Kundalini awakening, but I've read about it and I've, listened to what you have to say and talked to others about it. And on reflection, I guess, this has been my experience. But for me, it's been a very long journey, and you're right, I did ask for it, but before I went, I was activated, but when I became activated, I had to go through some very, very difficult experiences and go into myself quite deeply and face things that I haven't faced for many, many, many years before I could get to the point where now I feel like it's flowing through me. And now it's extremely positive and I feel wonderful every day and I'm just so excited.
You did all the hard work first. You did the work first, my dear.
Yeah, but I think what I'm trying to say is that I think a lot of people, and this is certainly something that I did, was I tried to I tried not to do the hard work. I try to get away from doing the hard work and go straight to the nirvana. What's my fast track to the nirvana? But I don't think there is. It's a personal journey. It's a personal relationship, and each person has to find what that is for themselves. And that pushing that I'm talking about is a resistance to just going with what is for now, and delving into that first, and then allowing. Yeah.
What you're not allowing other people to experience is what you experienced. You're taking that out of the equation, and it doesn't. You don't get to take that out of the equation. You have to do the hard work. You have to do the inner work. You get to go inside, and you get to see all the beauty and the ugliness that has been collected there throughout your lifetime. But you have to go there. You don't get to go, right. I don't want to do that part. I just want to go straight to nirvana. It's not going to let you do that.
That's right. Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. That's been my experience. I mean, I can only talk about what's happened for me.
And I honor you. I honor you for that. Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah. But I completely agree with what you're saying. So, yeah.
Well, I think
it feels right.
The fact to hear your voice and to feel your presence is really, I feel, an invitation for people to do what you did and to receive what you have received.
Mm.
So, I also agree with you, and I also agree with what you had to do and what I had to do. Very similar things, and it's difficult work. It's not everybody has really clean karma when the Kundalini comes. Sometimes it's a fairly messy karmic menu. And so, with that in mind, people will not have it the same way you did or the same way I did.
That's right.
They'll have different manifestations, and some of them will be very, very, very powerful, but it's just for them, and it's from their Kundalini.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I guess
takes you inside.
And I guess that's my point. I just wanted to make that point, that it is such a personal journey, and to be open to that and to be able to actually see it, requires a bit of fine tuning as well, to be able to notice the signs that you're receiving that are just for you. About that requires a certain amount of refinement and tuning, and it is such a personal journey, and I wouldn't discredit anybody's journey with that. So that's why my question was originally, is there something, we don't need to necessarily push or necessarily do certain things. Absolutely, we can take guidance about what works for others, but at the end of the day, it needs to come from yourself. And I've found that in all aspects of my life, food, everything. I know what feels right for me, what works for me, but it's taken me a long time to be able to listen to that, to tune in, and a lot of practice. And so what works for me in terms of food is not necessarily what works for somebody else, but I know how my body responds and what it needs, and I just listen. It's been life-changing, absolutely life-changing.
And I think you've responded very well, Michelle. I think that your choices and the decisions you've made, I think, were also guided by the Kundalini, and I think that you were given to push when you had to go in and look at some of the issues that needed resolution or balancing or whatever. And so a certain amount of pushing in your equation occurred. But I feel that you have done very well with this, and you're right. Romaine lettuce is somebody else's favorite lettuce, whereas iceberg is somebody else's favorite lettuce. So we're not all the same. We're not all the same, and I am not typically an absolutist type of teacher. I think I said that at the beginning of the show, that I don't want to, I typically don't like to fall into absolutism. because everybody is unique and everybody comes into this with different karma. And because of the differences in the karma, that's going to affect the differences in how a person's life is lived and the experiences that are received. And that includes, the Kundalini Awakening. I like your awakening. I want everybody to have your awakening.
Look, I'll just give you one. I'll just share one more little tip that I found. For me, one of the biggest sort of something that tipped me over the edge, I suppose you could say, was I got to a point where I realised I'd done as much work as I could do on my own, and I could feel that the glass ceiling was there within me that needed to be sort of broken through. And what I did was I actually decided to go and see a counsellor. But I chose somebody that was spiritually minded and aware and had a different kind of model that he worked with, and extremely open and flexible to my process. And that was the catalyst. When I walked in, he told me immediately, "You're just right. You're ready." He said I could feel that immediately. So that was extremely beneficial. Extremely beneficial. So that's just a little tip. Yeah,
I'm a little more leery about that because, sure, if you have that accessibility to a psychotherapist or a counselor who even knows of the word Kundalini, right then and there, you're extremely lucky.
Yeah.
For the most part, counselors and therapists, of many different stripes will classify you and diagnose you with schizophrenia with positive tendencies towards bipolarism. And I do not recommend people go to counselors to receive that kind of a DX.
Well, this wasn't a psychologist or a psychiatrist or even a psychotherapist. This is a counsellor. So they don't work that way. They don't. No, they don't diagnose.
Are you in Australia? Are you in Australia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, counsellors here, they don't do diagnoses as such. Yeah, it's a different.
Here in the States.
It's a different model of working with people. It's like I say, it's much more about your own personal process. Anyway, the point being is that sometimes, and I was guided to him as well. I had no idea. I just chose him out of a box of all sorts of names, and I was led to him. So. That was my process, and it was very helpful. Yeah.
The key word there is guided. You were guided by your Kundalini to this man, and so the Kundalini chose this man. Now, if that's the case for a person, I will always go with what the Kundalini chooses.
Yeah.
Okay, so for you, your Kundalini gave you an excellent resource for a flesh. Positive interaction with a flesh person that has an idea about Kundalini. And this is what I do too. People come to me and with fairly traumatic Kundalini experiences, and we just begin to calm that person down. That's what it is. And that's why we have this show. But I think it's I'm very happy to hear your story and to take your tips and your advices that your Kundalini has given to you. I think it's been very, very successful for you, and I think it will continue to be that way.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. Thank you very much for having me on the show. I'll let you. I won't take up any more of your time, but it's been a lovely discovery. Thank you very much.
Thank you for participating.
You're welcome.
I want to say thank you, Michelle, for calling in like that. It's very nice, very nice. And anybody else who wants to call in, we have 15 minutes, and the number is area code 347-934-0026. So let's talk a little bit about what Michelle suggested, and she's absolutely correct. You pay attention to your guidance. If your guidance tells you to go see a counselor, then you go see the counselor. And what I mean by guidance, I mean your Kundalini guidance. not Dr. So-and-so who lives down the street. Okay? By guidance, and the Kundalini led her to a therapist or counselor. And the Kundalini in her already knew what that counselor knew and how he would approach her with regards to her Kundalini. And, and obviously it was in a very positive setting. And this is something that I would totally agree with. I would not agree with, say, she had met this counselor at lunch, and he said, "Oh, yeah, I heard about Kundalini. I can help you with that." "Oh, well, do you have Kundalini?" "No." Then I'm going to have a problem with somebody coming, with somebody giving you advice on your Kundalini without having it themselves. There's an issue with that. Now, I understand that not everybody that gives you advice about your Kundalini that doesn't have it is going to give you bad advice. I'm not trying to be absolutist, but I am trying to help you discern and give you tools of measurement for discernment in who will be the most appropriate person to give you advice about something that they don't have. Okay? And it's kind of become something that I say in a few of these shows is you don't take advice about your Kundalini from people who don't have it, unless your Kundalini guides you to that person. So there's the caveat, and I'm going to thank Michelle Herlick for that caveat. Unless the Kundalini guides you to do so. And that is an important caveat right there, is if your Kundalini is guiding you to do it, then they already know who that person is, what they're about, and what they're going to give to you. And it wants you to receive that. It may not be what you expect to receive, however, but it will be what the Kundalini has for you to receive from that individual. So once again, Michelle, thank you. Thank you for that, for giving an addition to the the advice that I give quite often about not accepting advice from people who don't have the Kundalini. And as far as pushing things, I'm going to suggest that we all are going to have to push, but we're all also going to be given opportunities for rest and surrender. Rest and serenity. Calmness and stillness and beauty and joy. I go outside and I look at the ground and I can just get lost in the rocks and the life and the plants and the flowers, and you can just stare at that and just go into that. It's very, very beautiful. Life here is extremely beautiful and harsh at the same time because it's a predatory world. For the most part. So if there's anybody else that has a question, we have 11 minutes left, and the number is United States area code 347-934-0026. And at this point, Santara, would you give your announcement?
Yes, I will, Chrism. I'm a bit slow on the mute button. Sorry about that. First of all, thank you to Michelle. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're coming in nicely.
Oh, yeah. Thank you to Michelle. I enjoyed listening to what you had to say, Michelle. Thank you. Let me see. Okay, so let me begin by telling you again about the seminar. And if Anand is still listening, Anand, maybe consider again coming to see us in Ireland. It's a short journey over from the UK. The seminar is starting this weekend. It begins on Friday at 4 p.m. and it goes right through until Sunday. It begins this Friday at 7 p.m. and it goes right through until Sunday, and it finishes at 4 o'clock. I'll give you the address that you can write to. If you've got any questions at all, if you have any interest in attending, please do get in contact with me and we can have a communication about it. My email address is kundalinimatters@gmail.com, and my phone number is 00353 86 7676. And that's next weekend, 18th, 19th, and 20th of October, beginning at 7 p.m. on Friday and going right through until Sunday at 4 p.m. And if you're going to fly into Dublin Airport, I will collect you at Dublin Airport and bring you to the venue, which is it's about 30 minutes from the airport. So again, write to me on kundalinimatters@gmail.com, and I can answer any questions you have, and we can discuss any aspect of the seminar that you might be interested in. I'd also like to give you again, too, the website you can go to if you would like to make a donation to support the work that Chrism does. And this website is www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com. And as I say, up in the right-hand corner of that page, you will find the donate button. And as always, there's no pressure whatsoever on anybody to make a donation. I just make these announcements every week so that people are aware that the donate button is there and that donations is how Chrism can continue to do the work that he does. And if you're in a position to donate, then it is gratefully received. So that is, again, www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com.
Thank you, Santara. Thank you, Santara. And thank you, everybody who has listened. Celestial Rubies, Fastgy, guest 1661-2285-2493-2814, Michelle Herlick, Tim Ashworth, and Chrism Harris. Thank you for staying throughout the entire show, a long time. And also thank you for all the callers who called in. Thank you, Rosemary, for your wonderful interview. Thank you, Michelle, for your wonderful words. And everybody who called in, thank you, Santara. Thank you to your family, John, Jonathan, Emma, and all the extended brothers and sisters in the Kingdom of Kerry, in the country of Ireland, that I'm going to be seeing quite soon. And I look forward to it. Amazing. It's going to be an amazing experience. And for those of you who, thank you, Chrism Harris. For those of you who can come, do. And for those of you who can't come, then come back to this radio show. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you next week.
$65 Millionen. Heute im Euro-Jackpot. Unglaubliche rund 65 Millionen Euro. Jetzt in deiner Annahmestelle auf westlotto.de oder per App. Euro-Jackpot. Die Chance auf dein Traumleben.
Teilnahme ab 18. Gewinnchance rund 1 zu 95 Millionen. Glücksspiel kann süchtig machen. Informationen in Ihrer Westlotto-Annahmestelle.